$50 to go inside. And then I remember the day before I told him, "Hey, are you gonna go to the show?" And he goes, "No, I have no money." Of course, he had no job. And next thing you know, I saw him at the show, and I'm like, "How did you get this money?" He's like, "Oh, I just asked." And I'm also, "How did you pay it in bills or did you pay it in coins?" He's like, he whipped out whipped out both, but he had like $50 in coins and dollar bills. You know, it's hilarious.
Yeah, because it was just like, it was the biggest I was networking for ska, and at that time you have Dynamo from.
Oh man, that's how I found out. That's how I found out about him. And now they're like, the keyboardist is a good friend of mine. Right.
We have bands like Ocho Calacas playing within them. Maldita Vecindad coming from Mexico, big ska influence band.
Anti-Doping, Salon Victoria.
Exactly.
Old School Sector Core was the original singer. Dos Minutos played. Seis Pistos, Barra Brava, like all these bands played. Yeah, I remember. Oh man, that day was so fun.
And it was in center downtown. It was in La Placita Alvera.
They got the whole placita to do it. The main quad was where the local acts and the main acts played. Down by 2nd Street was where all the hardcore bands played.
Right.
And that was cool. That was a cool day, man. I still have the ticket. The billboard I lost somewhere. I don't know.
No, but it was one of those things where you didn't know half of the people that showed up, but it was people from around the world. You had people from Argentina coming in just to see, their local favorite, band. Ska Pe played too.
It was a huge festival, man. No, Ska Pe didn't play that one.
No. They played the following.
Oh yeah, Ska Pe played in 2010. I played that one. That was one of the biggest shows I played in LA.
See, so it's just like a bunch of good bands that just came out of nowhere. They're just like, let's put a show together, because ska was the main talk at the time, punk ska.
It started getting out there around that time. I remember that was Pico Rivera Sports Arena, and then that was the first time we played, and like up to now, like I never seen the arena just like full to the brim. It was pretty crazy night. I enjoyed it.
It was insane. Even for everybody stayed, even for the last band. Half of the people didn't even know who the last band was, but they stayed just because it was a massive event. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to have people listen to some of the music, I know, Angel, which band did you choose?
I chose Escarabajo.
Okay, tell us about Escarabajo, Esteban.
I'm not in Escarabajo. Not.
Wow. No, can you go put a song? No.
You want me to go?
No.
All right, I'll go. I'll play DJ.
Wow.
He knows which one is his favorite song from which band first. Put him on the spot, because I can't choose. Because then if I choose it, it'd just be me, picking my favorite band. And he plays it.
But it's a biased choice. People are gonna think it's all me.
No.
Burnout, Angel. Wow. I told him, let's play some music that he's been in. Okay, well, point is, I want him to play some of his music. I know he's already set up to play some show even today, so of course that's why he couldn't play something live.
And then plus they just came back from tour not that long ago.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. They went on tour. We haven't even asked him about that, but I thought that was
well, he
cool.
kind of told us a little bit about it,
okay.
on his little small trip, but he's leaving out the best stuff for last right now. We're just getting the whole download on the whole ska scene.
I thought it was pretty intense,
from a generation that's within our time frame, now, and also someone that was influenced by the older generation too as well.
Yeah, of course. I agree.
Oh yeah, we're waiting on the artist.
Oh yeah,
too.
we're also waiting on one of the artists. Today is Friday the 13th, so
So don't wish us bad luck.
You gotta expect a little bit of delay.
This is good luck.
We have people just trying to be cautious. Oh, it's like two of your favorite.
Hello.
We do have a bad cat named Jesua, and he was all cuddly this morning because he knew it was his birthday.
Yeah, it's his birthday.
Here we go. So ska, as we were saying, it's a very specific genre. Ska was always loud. I think that since he wasn't able to play, he should teach us how to sing. Is that that was called?
Skankaway with Esteban.
Skank into the scene. Angel, I think you should show us how to skank. I'll skank with you.
You can skank with
I never skanked with you before.
Esteban doesn't want. He's a pioneer.
No, he was the artist, watching everybody dancing to his music. You see, Angel was just standing there, at the back, watching everybody skank, just bobbing his head at the music. And I guess I was the one that was dancing.
So nice, you used to be so good.
Sounds loud.
You used to laugh at
I
all
like
my
it.
jokes and you said you understood. Now I'm living like a rat because I'm living on the street. I have nothing else to give to you. Don't want my company because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I got my beer goggles on. Hey little mama, I'm a yodeling beginner cause I got my beer goggles on. So nice, you used to be so good. You used to laugh at all my jokes and you said you understood. Well, it's not summertime and the living's not easy. Cause I know that you will never be coming back for me. Because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I got my beer goggles on. Hey, little mama, I want your loving again. Because I got my beer goggles on. Yeah.
Wait. Is this 2 different kinds of band? Same band. What's it called? Mata Mosca. Steady 45s.
Actually, right now they're in the East Coast at the moment.
Right?
Yeah, they're in the East Coast. Since I'm in school, I have to stay here. But right now they're playing in Massachusetts.
Also, for the following question, now you're stating that you were able to venture out of state. Before you also told me once that you couldn't go too far out of state.
I can only still live in the country. I'm not from here. So, when DACA legalized, I felt a little more confident in traveling. So, yeah, through that, I was able to travel and music all over the country. Take an opportunity and just being like having this kind of like status. I'm pretty like I'm a little more aware about it. Before back then, I kind of didn't really care what it was or what it was or what kind of status it was. But especially when I'm with friends, I'm very like enlighten yourself, get knowledge, read about others, chase your dreams.
Glad and like
do want to listen to, the more in depth, like in person, face to face, get the keyboard to sweat a little bit. What are the shows that you go to check out? Your band for the upcoming event.
What band is check out?
No. What your bands that are events that when are you going to perform? Which is the closest one?
I play multiple times a day sometimes. Today I'm playing one show. I'm on the bell. I'm playing tomorrow at the Mission Tobacco Line. Yeah, there's promoters nowadays that book us. I used to throw shows myself to help little bands out. I have this whole thing about helping little bands do the thing. I'm a big advocate for DIY bands that want to keep working and help them out. Yeah.
I mean, you've been really good at multitasking. Like you said, you've even been able to go to school. I mean, you have like your own life and whatnot, you know, and you're still able to keep such a important element of life.
Yeah, as a full-time student, 2 jobs and 3 bands.
Yeah, that's amazing. And they call us
it's like having 3 girlfriends
as millennials, you know, like.
And I already have one, so
we multitask.
The other 3 are not necessary.
I was my own attorney this week, you know.
But it. Shoki, did you, Fifi, that you want to say something? That's what she took the mic.
Love your dog, by the way. Oh, she's shy.
She's still sick right now, but.
We had Fifi back in the day. If we knew each other, we'd probably take her to the show.
Yep, she'll be right there. You know.
I would have got her for free.
Be a ska
You guys have to pay, but I would have got her for free.
No, but like you were saying, it's hard. Still being part of the movement, dealing with being a full-time student, working 2 jobs.
Yeah, and it's a struggle, but this I've always been in a situation where I kind of have to like sacrifice something. It's kind of like the whole, what do you call it, goal-oriented mentality. If you really like something, you'll do anything for it. So like there's days where I'll be like, you know what, I'll play, 12 to 3, then work from 5 to 7, in the morning or something like that. And sometimes I'm on no sleep, and I'm tired and I'm cranky. Yeah, sometimes I'm just like that, and my girlfriend or my mom will tell me, why are you not sleeping? Why, you should rest. You should take a break once in a while. But I don't know. This passion I have for this music is like a fire. I can't.
It's like being part of something that's bigger that
it's
keeps
bigger.
pushing.
It's bigger than myself. Yeah, it's almost like a religious thing for me. Almost. It's I don't know. I'm not saying I die for it or I kill someone for it, but it's something that I would gladly spend a lot of my life with. So it's cool.
I tell everybody, not everybody, but a lot of the artists that I'm able to meet here and interview, I don't get starstruck by like mainstream artists. Like I get starstruck by like local artists, by like people who have touched us with their music, their art, their words, and just their presence and them sharing like what they like to do and continue to help others who are trying to continue to keep that also going. I'm not like religious or anything, but we do trade crafts as life continues, I guess. There's some people that are going to the shows now. People, like, we have to have everybody to continue the cycle. We gotta have people that go to the shows, people that create the shows, people that put the shows together, and people who keep spreading the music even to other countries, or other cities. Yeah, I don't know. I guess music is one of the universal languages. I don't know if ska, I don't know. Ska's not dead. Not dead.
I don't think it's ever been dead. It's just been a small following. It got off the radio and people stopped listening to it. But there's people that, like, say a big band will play like Real Big Fish or say Ferris, something like that here in LA, locally big. Mm-hmm. And there's people that you'll never meet that they'll be like, oh yeah, I used to like ska back in the 90s. And like those people you'll probably never see. You'll see them once in a while, or if they get invited to a ska show, they'll be like nostalgic. I haven't heard of the word ska in 20 years, and you're just like, oh shit, okay. But this what was I gonna say? I had a thought. Oh yeah, but ska's not dead. It's just smaller now. It just shrunk. It's in LA specifically, it's more Mexican dominated, more Latin dominated, It's like ska-core, Mexican ska, all that's big nowadays. It gained different dialects. It became a lot more conscious. It hit a different kind of crowd. It's not like a mainstream thing anymore where you could talk about your girlfriend or the last beer you drank, or you could talk about this cute boy down the street or in school. You can't talk about that anymore. Nowadays it has to be something about, revolution or, some green substance that I'm not going to mention.
Mascarados had a song about that, right?
Oh, no, we talk about a glass substance that you smoke.
Right. But even so, like there was bands like Anastasia that would just, like you said, dedicate their whole kind of like persona for ska around, a certain thing. Yeah, I mean,
around certain themes. Yeah. Almost, and I like to believe that bands have certain themes as well. Like Resistencia, almost everything they talk about is about revolution and political, like political overtake or taking down a leader or something like that. Something corrupt. Such as back then Matamosca talked about the most ridiculous of subjects. Probably I don't know. Back then, I don't know.
Or just just like kids growing up, on the street, like Ropa Sucia was just about somebody just not caring about anything.
It's about being punk.
Yeah,
it was a punk song.
I mean, do you think that's why it made the scene? I mean, ska it's still there. It's present, and it's one of my favorite genres. But I don't know, because there's like artists that they're hip hop artists, but then they'll go to soul, and then they'll do some like classic, and I don't know, they'll do different kinds of music. But ska stays within the type of beat that it sounds.
There's mixtures of it.
Yeah.
There's like ska reggae, ska punk, third wave ska, which is a mixture of like ska rock and other little bits. It's like all that fifth wave from the valley. But there's like it's ska in itself too. It's what do you call it? It's a versatile form of music. There's always things. It could be mixed with a lot of things.
Right.
I've seen some pretty weird ska bands out in here and outside of the state that trip me out. They're like, well, I didn't know you could mix jazz with ska, and it still sounds really good. It's pretty cool. The only difference is that it's offbeat. It's an offbeat style of music.
Is there female ska bands?
Yeah, there's ska band. There's Monique Powell of Say Ferris or ex Say Ferris. There's the female players from the scene. To name a few, there's my friend Crystal, there's Anna, there's Josie. There's these people here that they're female musicians, and it's like pretty empowering too. Because there's never enough kind of gender fluidity in the scene.
Right.
There's never enough girls, that could actually be inspiring to some other girls that might want to play a different instrument. And it's cool. I give them the biggest props, so it's cool.
Even to get out to them shows, I definitely remember. Both genders, but mostly I remember it was harder for, I don't know, maybe it was just made for females to get out to the shows and be there super late.
But unfortunately, that's how it is in most things. It's like it's a male-dominated situation, and it's not like that purposely. It's just happened to be like that. If there were more girls on the scene, that'd be cool,
Yeah.
I don't discriminate.
I don't think it's about discrimination. I guess it's just we're lucky when the shows are close to home, when it stayed like in LA. I think that's why a lot of us would go, like all kinds of genders, when it was super close by. When I would hear the shows were in the valley or something else, like that was further away, it was harder for me. But I don't know. I always enjoyed the show because it was very inclusive of all kinds of genders and styles and likes and
I definitely
whatnot,
get you. This, I think the only thing I would care about myself and knowing myself, it wouldn't be about the gender of the musician. It's just if the musician is good.
Yeah, because I remember going to shows, and it was my first encounter to meeting somebody that was queer, trans, or somebody that liked ska, but didn't fully show it. Either through society, the wardrobe, or just the classification of the music, or. Right, or unless you're
asked. That again, I think it depends on the social climate and the zeitgeist of the situation. Like nowadays, it's accepted to come out and to uh, kind of like demonstrate your sexual background, your fluidity, saying you're queer, I'm trans, whatever respectfully you are, but it's just that's just how it is back then, and then that in itself shapes the way society is at the moment, and that's the reason why we have all these kind of like new messages coming out, these new empowerments of people playing,
Right, because I remember the first time I ever went back to listening to ska. Somebody told me, oh, there's a new ska artist out there who practically does, it's like a one-man band.
Almost, yeah. But that's done too, like in like hip hop music as well.
Right.
There's people that just do their own beats and they do their own stuff. People that there's even there's a bunch of other bands that I know, or either artists you would call them, that they'll just like play, they record, and then they'll play something else and record, and they'll play something else and record. Next thing you know, they're their own band. That's a natural thing that happened. I seen someone in Denver that played reggae music, and he was like playing bass and playing keys and then recording it, and then he would play sax over it. It was pretty amazing.
Nice. It's like you said, it's a fluidity of just like everybody pouring in something, and then at the same time like taking something out and remixing that with something else. You know what I mean? The fact that ska went from different locations within the zones, within the districts, within even just the category within the social how I put it, structure of everybody, like their economic status, like what places could afford more to pay for bands or for shows, and then what places could only afford certain local bands and not like the bigger well-known bands, that were more like word out or more talked about. Just the factor that you couldn't have a show in Southgate if you didn't have a little bit of just known of the community, or just like a structure where you had a little bit of financial stability where you could say this is what I'm gonna put down, to compare to I'm gonna do a lot way in Watts or South Central, to I'm gonna do back home where this is my house is from a second generation family, so this nobody's gonna stop the show at a certain time.
Well, like I guess like I mentioned too before, it's more like the only reason the scene was really small back then is because we had no money. In some sense, we were all just a band of friends that kind of were just like, you know what, let's build something from the bottom, very, very, very from the bottom, and then with no money somehow make it come back all the way up, and with that, with the team effort of promoters that believed in the growth of the scene, with bands that believed in wanting to like spread the music out, their music that they like put their time and their dedication to people that actually want to hear them, and then with that build a fan base. Like that's how the scene started. It just started with that trifecta of people with a sole goal of saying, you know what, in a couple years we're gonna have an X amount of people coming to our shows, and our shows were going to start being successful. It was a big gamble. I mean, I remember the owner from Evil Core, Clemente, he even said like, in the early days, no people would go, or ska bands would have to play with metal bands, and they'll have to play with urbano bands to get a following. And until eventually we started making all ska shows, and then we separated ourselves from that mix, and that's how it worked.
Because I remember there was groups like LA Drunk that would throw punk shows and a mixture of ska, within their whole movement, and you would state that a group of people that promoted love songs, not so much talking about fighting the corporation as much, but punk itself was just a rebellious act. At times people from different time frames can state it's different types of music or different mentalities, what led to what group. You had the 80s punks, you have the 90s, within the 90s the crust scene came about. But same with ska. I mean, they were just a mixture of it. That the fact that everybody needed to help everybody at one point. Like, I can't get my people without your people, or I can't get your people to come here. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's kind of like I can't get you fans unless you. Oh. I don't know. What was that?
Is that me?
Yeah, I think that's you. Ooh.
I touched it.
But I guess, like said, like it is a promoter will tell a band, I can't get you fans unless we pair you up with these people, and you have material to spread to your friends, or to spread to those fans, so that people that'll see you at the shows, give them a CD, and then they're gonna tell their friends, and eventually they're gonna have 2 people coming or 3 people coming, and then those 3 will bring their 3, so you have 9, and then 9 will go to 27. Like, it goes to that, it just keeps multiplying until eventually you have a fan base. And then so imagine that, but with all these bands. And so you put all these bands together, and all ska show, and people are just like, dude, there's nothing but ska bands, and they're all bands that I like. Of course I'm gonna tell all my friends to come down. And that's how the whole separation kind of started. Before our time, people like Evocore or Monkey Bone or stuff like that, that's what they kind of envision of doing. And now that we have the separation, the best thing we could do now is just grow, and it's all but nothing but growth. There's one of the earlier promoters. He's actually a professor in festival. He's I forgot what he teaches. Oy. I think I have a bad cable. Actually, one of the people who brought like bands like Quince Letras, and he kind of had this goal to like help them out, spread kind of spread their word out. They played with urbano bands, like lead and roll, almost like Maná style bands or Caifanes style bands, with metal bands. They played with that, and eventually started spraying CDs. And then eventually, once they started getting their own following, Mexican ska started being a big thing with Chencha Berinches. And Chencha had their fan base, and they started teaming up with Viernes and Calavera, who were like the other older bands. And then once they do all ska shows, their fan base would just go play with them. They had their own following. And then now Calavera and Viernes and all those, they pull hundreds of people by themselves. That's progress coming from, late 90s to now.
Like even Wardrobe too, like we had that band South Central Skankers that did the whole, rude boy kind of.
Calavera did it too. Yeah, Calavera did the whole wardrobe thing. They'll like buy like 10 different wardrobes, and they'll all wear different wardrobes every single time. They're like Tokyo Ska.
What kind of wardrobe?
Did you say it yourself? What they will wear like ties, hats like that. The black and white.
Hello?
The checker thing was big. That's like a big ska staple.
Like you had the little icon figure, the Operation Ivy.
Yeah, Operation Ivy stuff. The coat, the pinstripe coat with nice
so
white.
There's a lot of people who are watching the show that have no idea like what the rude boy look is. Or
It's almost like a Pachuco thing. Like they almost kind of did the Pachuco style, minus the baggy trousers and the shirt that's 10 sizes too big for you. But this it was kind of like they were almost looking like Pachucos, but it's just a little more uptight, and it's cool. There's like a there's like a historic movement towards all that too.
Like mods, you had the whole scooter movement, so it's like ska wasn't just like kids, just playing in, like just getting to form a band and just playing, but it was just literally knowing a whole movement that was, like you said, bigger than you at the time, and it still is, because people are still pushing it in different ways. Like you said, the Scatolites, they were reggae ska. Most
they were like a ska reggae and early stuff like that, and even then, like their ska sounded way different from the way they do now. 'Cause back then, when they backed up Bob Marley and the Wailers, it sounded a little more like. You could tell it sounded very new, just very singular type of beat, only to dance, harmonies, and then just like kind of little movement in the horn lines.
Same with like bands that took that influence, like Panico Latino.
Yes.
You know, like that put a little bit of just like the Caribbean, like the coastal, and then also mixed it within the whole ska, and like that whole beat that it's like most people at that in our generation was just like that ska, just play that same beat, it's just the snare and the what's the drum part with the snare, and then what's the little clamps,
The hi-hats?
the hi-hats, it was just a certain
definitely, I
a
feel
certain
you.
beat that was just repetitive, and then everybody else said that's ska. Yeah, I mean, like anybody who played that, or the guitar, the strings, it was just
the ska beat is mostly like memorized towards the skank. It's called a skank. And then is a reverse R&B beat, which is it's supposed to sound offbeat, which should be the hi-hat, click and snare going on the off 3 and the 4.
I was gonna ask you about that flyer. You guys designed that one?
That one, oh yeah, that's one of our shows we're playing. We're playing in Yuma.
And who designs your flyer?
We have different people, but this guy, his name is Nukui Bugard. He's actually a fan of ours from Japan. He emailed me and said that he wanted some designs. He wanted to design something for us, and at first I kind of like took his word for like with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But then I saw his stuff and I was like, oh man, you're amazing.
No, and then that's another thing, as a band, a performer and a bandmate, you also look for you also set up your own studio. You have your own studio.
We have our own lockout, yes.
Yeah.
And then with that too, like I like art too. So stuff like this, I look for something exquisite that will kind of represent the band differently. That's why I'm a pretty big fan of that drawing itself. But I kind of want the band to its image to be a little more artistic and colorful than it was the last couple times. Because before they did this whole like street art thing where it was just kind of like cut and paste letters and to make it look punk.
Right.
I'm trying to like kind of break out of that wall and see what I can do with
Same
the band.
with I noticed the photo shoot was with Matamosca. They're like, some of them are urban, some of them are just more like at a studio. Just like more upscale.
We would like to think that we're still kind of like attached to our urban roots, but the band being together since 2001, we have gone through significant change, such as like. We cleaned up our style of music back then. We sounded like Ropa Sucia. It was that kind of punk that was dirty and it was street.
Right, like ska core.
Yeah, but now we have this whole like a little more cleaner, a little more poppy-ish. We have that kind of like punk that's a little more socially accepted. Almost feel
Right.
It's a little more. It's just a little more cleaned up, and that's mostly because due to style differences. Back then back then at the time the guys wanted to play something a little more dirty, a little more loose, and now we're just kind of like we gotta tighten up and we gotta play something a little more easier to listen, you would say.
Right.
But in that same sense, something that could test us as well. We're always in the studio, we're always in the lab right there, just like, well, what could we play that we would like and what's catchy. And then it'll take us hours or even weeks to make up a good song that we finally could like sit down here and be like, yeah, that's the song we want to hear.
It's like it's a big transition. Like for me, I like the band Los Crudos. They made what is it, like 100 songs within a time frame of 1 hour or so. Like a small time frame. They made so many songs, but because they're small time frames, you know what I mean. But at points there's bands that didn't even have that much time frame to make so many songs. They made like 4 songs, even though they were repetitive. Sometimes you heard it all the time and you're like, oh, I already know that song. I don't need to go to see that band because they're gonna play the same song. But it wasn't that notion. It was the notion that you had just a small time frame to like meet up with your friends, record something, or have everybody at the same time, or everybody in the same page on what to play, what to perform. Yes. Yeah, I mean, so not everybody had a computer that could record, had a mic, or not everybody have a space to like actually use the garage to record.
explain that again.
And like nobody had that much space to like record.
They
so it was just in like a limited amount. Yeah, I mean, just small
they
demos.
Didn't have that creative space. You could kind of say, yeah. And then even then, like it's like all creative, like all forms of creation, it has to evolve and change. So I would like to think like the art that we mentioned. Our art back then is different than our art now. We would like to think that we changed ourselves. We were more matured, and we've kind of not let go, but we've kind of went over that time of our lives where we could, get away with playing loose punk and talk about whatever we want to say and offend people and disagree with people. But nowadays we're disagreeing with them in a more conscious state. We play songs that are politically charged and people don't believe in it. Then that's their opinion. But our opinion is we're gonna play this kind of music because we feel this kind of oppression or this kind of situation is happening. Nice.
And I mean,
so I agree.
I'm like, I agree.
It's okay. The story of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful story, and as we said, music continues to develop and grow.
Like our art.
Right. A little bit of ska can live in a different kind of genre or art or style. Different cities representing the language barriers. A life with borders, but passing them through music because, like you said, it did open up. I mean, it was a very specific political action, DACA, but so was ska and so is music. It's a direct message from the people, like we can move people through music. Like, can you move people through getting the right political message out there, representing us the way you should? Here we have music that was created by the people and for the people. So that's really what the big message is here at the Eskwilax Hour with a lot of the DIY artists that we have today. Just like our friend and artist Jesua, who does lots of kind of music. What would you qualify your music as? Oh, we don't have a microphone on Jesua, but I'm about to give Jesua a microphone so she could tell us a little bit about music.
Want me to give her mine?
Oh, I mean, you could give her yours if you'd like.
Share.
Sharing is Carrie.
Yeah, man. Esteban, nice to meet you.
Is Esteban and Jesua. You could take a seat if you'd like, real quick. I know you came rushing.
Yeah, my bad. I'm all like late.
No, thank you for coming, girl. Like, both of you guys have been on a major music role. You just had a show last night, and here you are today. He has a show tomorrow. I mean, today too, right? You have a show today. You have a show every day.
Nice.
Like, musicians here live today, and that keeping a very strong scene that for a long time was very isolated or marginalized. In a way, it kind of fermented it, I'd say. You guys have been keeping it there and alive and raw, and now people that are listening to it or barely stepping into it feel something very powerful. And they're like, whoa, where did this scene come from? Or where did this music come from? Or how is it that this artist is so out here liberated, wearing what they want or he wants and yelling, fuck the system, but in a very like poetically elegant way or in a very raw punk manner. Like, and nowadays, like now in the scene of LA, which, a lot of people think about it as the capital of entertainment or the rise of the golden era, or where a lot of artists were born or a lot of artists live in. But I don't know, you guys have a very special meaning to a lot of this, and I don't know if it means a lot to other people, but it definitely does to me and to all the artists here. So thank you for being here today, you guys, and for keeping the culture alive of music and art and entertainment.
I think that's pretty awesome. Like that's a power of art. You just cultivate each other, like, and like that just naturally creates a community. And when that builds off, like obviously, like it's good. It's like it's natural, and just like it's good to get to know everybody and stuff.
good. Yeah, and like kind of carrying off what he said, it's natural, and then in the end, it's kind of like fluid and transparent towards itself. You know, like obviously, like I was saying before, art helps music, and then music helps kind of like art in some other way, and then with that, there's other dimensions of art that we could touch on that they're not on top of my head right now, but it all helps each other. It's not separate worlds like people would think it is. Like, sometimes people will be like, people that draw don't really associate with people who play music or stuff like that. That's the reason it's art show, stuff like that. I don't like to think about it like it's like that. I like to think about that art's just one giant world, and it's ever changing, it's ever evolving. It's just as much as our world is. That's what I would like to think. And with that, that's why we have this whole like self-help towards each other, kind of like relationship. You could almost kind of say it's almost a relationship of camaraderie. So yeah, especially now more than ever, the urban's all about DIY, and then DIY in itself too has kind of like an anti-establishment, politically conscious movement of itself. We're more about like we don't need help from a big business or an establishment that tends to corrupt and expose people, and we do it ourselves and for a sense of empowerment and freedom from that kind of anti-establishment and corruption. Ska's kind of like that too towards mainstream media, and punk is like that too. Art in itself too is kind of like that. Like drawings, such as that beautiful drawing right there. It's the sense of like.
Do you want to bring it or?
Yeah, please bring it. I was looking at that. I like it. This is okay. You see, like art like this is. It's something, it's something that's pure and it's expressive in some way, but it's rebellious too. It's kind of it kind of goes out of the norm of what people will believe. It's conformity, and that I would like to think it is. It's outside a social standard, and that's kind of, to me, that's kind of the beauty of the expression, because he's kind of expressing himself in his own unique way, and it's can't be taken away. And he's talking about, when I see this, I would like to think he's talking about the way he feels inside, and I guess relating this to music, ska music in itself. Me, doing this thing for almost a decade and a half. The reason why I'm not gone from it yet too is because it's me expressing what I am for myself. So it all kind of clicks up and itself. It's changing and it's growing all the time.
Yeah, Jesua. I know last time you blessed us with drawing and music and an interview. Like, thank you for coming back again. Today as an artist, yet again, because she was here. I don't even know.
Yeah. Huh?
Oh no, it's like every day an artist. Like not just today they come as an artist, but always as an artist.
I like to think today's an artist, and that's why they call it a present. The present.
Oh,
like
nice. Right. But do tell us about you just had a performance, right?
I joined a competition last night. It was 3 contestants, and it was first thing to do was a drag number, which is what typically drag queens would do, is lip sync to a song. And then the second challenge was to sing live, like real live. And then third was to share your talent. So that was pretty fun. Yeah, my talent was basically just like doing portraits all night if people were coming up, and so it was just like freestyle. I should have shared that, but I didn't like think about it. It was so last minute. I was like, fuck it. Like, no, but it was so quick.
Right, and also we had said we were gonna go, but
yeah,
Friday the 13th, it was around the corner. We had to get set up with the show. We didn't even miss the art walk. We didn't even get to,
Yeah, I passed by where you guys normally hang out. You guys weren't there.
I know. There was a new group there, but they're also still part of our team. Sometimes
right
Observe. On. He was there showcasing his photography. Hokin, our photographer too, as well from the team. Hokin. if you could say a word. Yeah, he said no. He's behind the camera, but he was there. Diego Views was there. They're putting out their artwork, their photography, and also showing the performers. The makeup artists. And the Eskwilax team was also out there. Damn, everybody was out there.
It's good, and that's why they did the show on an art walk day, because they wanted to it's something different. And
it was good.
So
Perfect.
It was good. I actually won. So
I know. Congratulations.
I'm surprised. It was what? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, like you said, and we continue to repeat. You put your 100 in what you do, and thank you. I mean, the end product is amazing, and people are feeling it.
It's I mean, I think the most important thing is just that it feels good to you. Personally, if the art that you're making feels good, continue it, don't stop. And I think eventually your mind kind of, or your body even tells you when it feels right and when you should take a rest or something,
right?
So it's just it's kind of a matter of intuition and just being where am I going with this?
I mean, you're going. I mean,
being good, one with yourself. Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, raw passion. You're going with the moment. I don't know. You're very open and upfront to us through your live streams, of course, and we appreciate how raw your art is. You've also been able to meet up with some people, and you've given them some of your drawings, which is pretty cool. Last time when I saw you, you met up with Rob, and he was excited to have one of your drawings, and I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, he had a funny request.
I really, people really like your art. I think it's beautiful. Your performances. You had last time talked about how you were going to start working on a film or a small... or a YouTube video, or your music video, I think.
Yeah, it's so right now I'm trying to do I'm working on some concepts right now.
Cool.
With some cameraman, and
that's
we make shit happen finally, and
yay!
I'm excited.
Always, there's a lot of underground back production that happens in the art world that not a lot of people see, but definitely thank you for breaking those margins and the back of the scenes and bringing it to us.
I think sometimes your experiences kind of force you to just do you all the way.
Right.
You can't really I don't know, shit happens for a reason, I believe. And even if it's messed up or weird things that you might not understand now, they kind of put a fire on your ass to make you more passionate and why you're meeting the people that you're meeting. And it's kind of crazy. Everything really is connected to some extent, and it's a trip, when you look at the big picture, because it's this was meant to happen for some strange reason that. We're all talking about how passionate about art we are, and it's kind of I don't know, it's trippy.
Right. No, and the fact for instance, the art that you produce, the penmanship, it being with pen and just doing something quick sketch, but turning it into giving it shadow, giving it shading. In art, when we were around, it was just, we would see it in punk flyers. We would see it, a drawing somebody drew up and then put it on a flyer on a show.
Yeah, like the old school flyers too. They had that kind of old kind of magazine almost style looking punk stuff.
So people would tell a friend, hey, draw me something because I know you draw really good, and then from there,
drawing it into Xerox, and then you make two flyers.
Putting it together, and now, like he said, it's just a whole movement that just got developed to a point where it no longer went from just somebody drawing it to now putting it on a computer, photoshopping it, putting it together, and now it's like this work of art, but still a flyer. You know what I mean? It's a work of art, but still in a flyer form. The whole movement just growing. Now we have, like he stated, the whole DIY movement, where art isn't necessarily done on a computer anymore, but on everything. So same with music. Music, it's no longer just one specific genre, but it's broken down to various genres within one major like initiating point, like you being an artist or just drawing with pencil, from just saying I'm a professional photographer to making a living as a professional photographer. You know, it's a whole transition within a whole bigger concept of it.
Yeah, dude. There's like definitely like people that I knew that were kind of like self-proclaimed photographers. You know, especially when I was younger, they were just like, "Yeah, I'm a photographer." And back then there was like 10,000 photographers, and like now like some of those. Yeah, back
Everybody's
then.
a photographer now.
But like no, like back then, before like iPhone and all that technology and iPhone 700 or whatever, there's these photographers that like they're like DIY photographers, so they'll do good, and then some of them have really good editing skills. And look at them now. I mean, they're like working as full-time photographers. I know at least one friend of mine. Oh, she did that. She was a photographer just on the streets and did shows, and now she's like working with like some of the best people ever. That's pretty cool. So it did start off from a DIY route, and then it kind of just spread off to a career style kind of thing. Now we're having a conversation.
I hope that happens. I mean, I don't know if that's an artist's goal at the end, to be able to create a living from your craft, or I'm not sure. Just make people enjoy doing what they like to do.
But I guess what I'm focusing on is like the evolution of DIY and the evolution of art. And in itself, it's like a person went from DIY to self-expression, anti-establishment, kind of like sufficient in some sense too, and most transcending as well, looking upon themselves and what they want to think about and feel, and what they're currently feeling, and all that stuff. This it went from that to like this. They do it now every day for stability and happiness. It came from an evolution. The message is still there, but just the evolution. It's like a flower blooming. That's what I like to believe.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it just takes practice. Like, it's definitely like it's just like, that's what happens, and people just continue to be patient and persistent. Like, you learn to better your craft, and then you kind of, meet the people at the right time, because it's kind of like a sign that you're ready to like do your stuff and share with your message.
It's kind of like saying like, when you started drawing, you would draw for reasons that it relaxes you.
Yeah, like
you're
it's
expressing yourself.
just like literally.
Yeah. And then now you do it, but now you're doing it to like a different level. You evolved from this whole, smaller you, looking for himself.
Still small.
Smaller.
Yeah.
We're all small. This from the small DIY, you was like kind of like, you probably had your own personal problems, and you want to find a way to express them. Up to this person who's now like, you're a little more happier, a little more accepted, a little more professional about your thing. It's an evolution. It's an evolutionary it's a phase. That transition. There you go. When I was younger, I was playing just to help me get through tough times that I was going through. Yeah, it's helped me to get through tough times, and then now I do it, and it still gets me through tough times, because whenever I get mad, I'm just like, F this. I'm gonna go play music to make me feel better. And now, and I still do it, but now it's just kind of, I've evolved from little bands to big bands, and then I could only keep going higher,
Right. I mean, you guys were part and are part of spaces that are outlets. When you first created the music as an outlet, people came to join these places to be outlets for themselves, and I don't know. Now it's still part of a way of emotion, but controlled in a way. I guess if you're able to control, you can't control events of life, of course, but you can control your emotions. And I guess that's a really strong message. It takes practice.
It's a practice thing. It's almost like a meditation.
But it's powerful when you are, and you don't let it like just overtake you, because you can be a dark person or an emotion person that will stay doing nothing. you can become your own box if you wanted to, or you can create art like you guys.
That's why we have art. People who are like always emotionally
Right.
charged tend to be, they tend to be ironically negative. They're always just people who are just, they have problems coping with everyday life. And I know tons of people that have problems with that, and I always tell them, maybe obviously just getting a hobby, to get you through the day, something just to get you through the day, and to tell you that you're going to be okay at the end of the day, and you're going to be a little more happier once you're done with this hobby or something like that. Life is an investment, I would like to think.
For those of us that couldn't afford therapy,
it's how to put it, it's being part of something bigger, but still knowing that you're like a micro aspect within a bigger version of yourself. Like you see an artist that you admire, and your goal is to somehow eventually work with him, work something alongside the same aspect as it, or having a role model that just influences you into just every day waking up and knowing that, hey, he's gonna say something nice because he knows he's wishing me best. I recently was told, I had an event, and I was recently told that I should expect that certain things are bound to happen, and that I shouldn't plan them to everybody know that there's a moderation, or there's like some sort of stability. I felt like I was the adult in that sense. To the point where I understood it as I put let's say I stopped them from actually expressing themselves. But like you said, there are people that tend to just express themselves because they have something that that they need to channel, right? But for the most part, just channeling in itself is not enough. But it's actually finding a group of people that you could help channel with.
I guess going back, retracting it back a bit, the first step to all that is, the first step would be the idea of the realization that your problems are smaller than yourself, but you yourself are smaller than the world. It's kind of one of those, Yeah. But that's the way all art is. You kind of have to accept that you're always a student every day. Tomorrow's always there. It's not promised, but it's always there. You're gonna feel better by the time you finish doing something, and that you're just a grain of dirt in the big, sand pit of the ocean.
So make the best of it now. I mean, definitely thank you, you guys, for being here today. Jesua, thank you for coming through. I don't know if you wanted to sketch for the last couple minutes, or if or it's too late. But I appreciate you coming through and blessing us with those skills. You too, Esteban, for, like I said, continuing a moment in life that we also remember. A lot of us are here and continue to let it live. Those that take the torch after you or after everybody, I hope they do it with the same passion and the same fun. Hopefully we can have the bands one day here at the Eskwilax Hour, but for now I'd rather have them out there playing for a large scene. And thank you. I don't know if there's any last words. Stay tuned to their shows, of course. What's your Instagram name, or do you have a band Instagram name that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, you could follow my bands at Matamosca.
At Matamosca.
Or at the Steady 45s.
At Steady 45s.
And then also at La Bandas Calavera.
At La Bandas Calavera. At La Bandas Calavera.
At La Bandas Calavera.
Yeah. Or you could add me at Esteban.Flores92.
And how do you spell Esteban? Because
ESTE, B as in boy, not V, not PH, none of that. ESTEBAN.
And Jesua also continues. She has 2 art pages. Your main page, Jesua Bones, and then your art page, which is, what's our art page? Jesua Bones Artwork. So definitely stay tuned. I know you have a lot of exciting shows for us, and thank you for keeping up with the art, for being all over LA. I know you do a lot of traveling, but definitely stay tuned till next week. Friday. This is episode 135, and we appreciate everybody on the team. Thank you, Efren, for continuing to have the show going. And thanks, Marco, for being back there and doing the wonderful controlling and hoking on the camera and on the film camera, and Angel and everybody. And thank you, Drone Box. And I hope to see you guys next Friday.